Adam, we're here. Episode 2
This is my favorite second episode
of this
season yet.
This is like those cheesy dad jokes where you're like, you're my favorite daughter, and you're the only daughter.
The best dad joke I've heard in a long time came from season 1 guest Nate yesterday, because I went to Indiana with my family and we hung out outside, and I got a sunburn on my bald head and it was like beet red. And he said that I went to Indy Tana.
That is a really good dad joke.
And then it was like, yeah, it was a very dad joke. So, which is good. The older I get, the more dad jokes
You'll
are
hear.
great.
Yeah, that's true. Well, today we are talking about how to start a conference with Melissa Alam.
Yeah, and she has started a conference called FearlessCon, which she started in 2015. And this year's is in Philly, which all of the years have been in Philly.
For sure.
And it's on October 12th. Are you going to go to it?
I'm going to go.
I will also go to it if you do.
I think I'm also teaching a workshop.
You're teaching a workshop there.
And it's about how to get better photos for your brand.
Right.
It'll be 40 minutes, not super long, but I'm going to try to hit the high points and make it so that it's easy to digest.
Yeah.
Digest.
Digest.
But so today we talked to Melissa a lot about why she started it, what Fearless Conference is, who it's for, things that she feels like because of her strengths it's easy to do, things that have made it more difficult, easier, even like her selection process on who to invite. Yeah,
and we've paid a lot of attention to Melissa over the years, and there was a lot of things that I learned in getting to talk to her that I didn't expect.
Yeah. I felt like the episode was like we were actually curious about all of the things that we asked, which is fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the past season, we just know our guests so well that it doesn't feel like, it feels like we're just like, I already know that.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
Yep. So keep on listening if you want to hear more tips about how to start a conference. I also think it just applies to anyone who has a side hustle. Melissa doesn't do this full time, so.
Also, we're going to give away tickets to the conference.
We are.
You almost forgot
I
that
did.
part.
I almost forgot. We just talked about it. We're going to give away.
Producer Michael kind of looked at us and was like, guys.
Oh, I didn't even look. I was like avoiding eye contact. No. Yeah. We're going to give away tickets.
How many?
2. So
how many
you
people?
And a friend, 2 people.
To one person.
People. Right.
Someone is going to win 2 tickets for
Bring
themselves
a friend.
And a buddy.
Bring a bestie.
A bestie. Or maybe if you got a ticket already, you could bring 2 of your friends with you.
2 besties.
So someone's going to win 2 tickets. How is that going to happen?
You are going to go to thewonderjam.com/fearless, and there'll be a widget that you can enter a lot of different ways. Yeah. It's really straightforward, very easy to do. We will be announcing the winner on Friday, September 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So it'll run for about a good full business week, and then we'll contact you via email.
Yeah. So by Friday, the 29th, by 3 p.m., you've got to have your submission. And 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you're like in California and you want to fly over there to Philly for the conference, make sure you count for the time zones.
Hopefully they will do that. We'll see. I think what you mean is if they're in California entering, that would be noon their time.
According to how that works, I think.
The world.
So.
Yep. Awesome. Well, keep on listening. We'll remind you again later in the episode. Enjoy. All right, cool. So let's just dive in and tell us about...
So the first question we asked you was, what is your Skype username? We'll have to bleep that out? No. We're going to give that to everybody in the show?
Yeah, well, then people can Skype her. Why not?
Oh my gosh, I'm never on Skype.
It'll be like the next AIM.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Skype's the next big thing. Have you guys heard of it? It's a service where you can talk to people. It's like a phone.
It sometimes works. Tell us about what Fearless Conference is. Why did you create it?
Yeah, so I created Fearless Conference because, for 2 reasons. I have been going to a lot of conferences around the country that deal with like entrepreneurship and female empowerment, and I wanted to create something of my own, and kind of test myself in terms of, hey, can I pull something this big off here in Philadelphia? So I kind of love competing with my own self and pushing myself to the limits.
I love that part.
And then the second is because it was a fundraiser for my life.
Yeah.
It's for this cool nonprofit that's operating right now. Yeah. It's called My Life.
It's actually a GoFundMe for Melissa's mom.
I would support
it. So yeah, I started when I had The Hive, which was a female co-working space that I opened from 2014 to 2016. So I launched FearlessCon to actually pay rent. So I made 1 month rent as profit. But yeah, this year I'm hoping to, every year I'm hoping to increase my profits and grow the conference. I've mostly just broken even, but it started because I wanted to, bring it to Philadelphia and then raise some money for myself.
Yeah. Let's jump into actually hosting a conference, because you talked a little bit about the motivation. I remember this. You had to balance, one, you needed the conference that you were putting together to make money. It wasn't like you were some huge business that was just doing it kind of as a marketing tactic. You were a real person who really needed there to be profit at the end of the whole thing. And so you obviously had to probably have a lot of trade-offs as far as things you saw other conferences do, or ways you kind of had to be scrappy. Talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that you ended up being scrappy, or, what were some of those trade-offs that you had to make, but maybe in the future or this year or next year, you wouldn't want to necessarily have to make?
Yeah. The whole conference is scrappy at its finest. I guess trade-offs would be having a dedicated staff to help out. So most of the heavy lifting and planning is all on my shoulders, because I haven't been able to pay for, a full-time team to, do sponsorships. I luckily have some amazing friends that have helped out throughout the year and are still helping out, or they help out the day of, which is great. And I have some interns that'll do research and reach out, which really does help. But I think the biggest trade-off is my time and the amount of pressure and work that's put on my shoulders versus me just being a CEO and pointing fingers. Also, I guess with decor, you have to have a beautiful space. So I pretty much just Amazon Prime, or I'll think of creative, cheap ways to make the space that I get look good. And then in terms of the trade-off is also with speakers and being able to pay them all. I'd love to pay everyone. I love getting paid when I speak. That's awesome. But unfortunately, I can't do that because, again, I'm not some corporation. I'm bootstrapping this whole thing from my client work, my freelance work. So, yeah, it's empowering that I'm able to do it. I think it's to myself. I feel last year when I put in the deposit for the space that I had, the owners of that space thought I was renting it for a wedding. So they thought I was putting it in for a wedding deposit. They're like, yeah, you can have your band here and your wedding rehearsal. And I was like, oh no, I'm having a conference and this is my own money. It's not my husband's money. It was just such a, I'm not having a wedding. This is why have a wedding when you can host your own conference is what I say.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So just trade-off is just kind of time and, giving money to people that deserve it and paying them for their work. But hopefully I can get to that with sponsorships. And because I haven't got to that level, that's where I compensate by providing a dope experience. I compensate by giving them the best that I can in terms of a good time. So
that's amazing. Yeah. So I imagine someone out there wants to host a conference or they've talked about it. What were the first 3 steps you took when you realized you wanted to host this conference? You even made the wedding, you talked about the wedding mix up. There's things that people do when they plan a wedding where they're I need a venue, I need to pick a date. What were the first 3 steps you took?
Yeah, I think the first 3 steps would be get a date first. So just figure out when you want it. Once you have a date, you can reach out to venues. So that'd be the second step, is to secure a venue. And then the third step would be to, I'd say, brand the conference, because you can get speakers and sponsors after all of that. You can always reach out to them. But they always need the date and the location pretty much. The date, yes, the location makes you look a little more organized.
Got it.
But yeah, date, location, and then the brand, like the imagery. Like I created just even a flyer with no speakers, no information, but just said, hey, this is a conference, this is the name, and this is the date. Do you want to be interested? Because you have to reach out months ahead of time, obviously.
For sure.
So if you're just starting a conference, those would be the 3 things I'd recommend.
Yeah. When you say location, do you mean like the city, or were you even like, no, I'm going to find like the actual address?
Well, I wasn't moving from Philly, so it was the actual address here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And the actual venue, which for this year, I've actually slacked, and this is my 3rd year hosting it, but it took me a while to find my second day location. And but my first year, I found the location right away. So
cool. That's cool. I love it. Yeah. So Adam and I were talking, and we always, like last season of our podcast, we talked to business owners about what it was like the first 2 years, because that's way different than when you're in like your 3rd or 4th or 5th year. Are there any things that if you look back on year 1, you wish you could give yourself advice, or do you feel like that was actually like the most magical time? Like what was that like comparing the 1st and 3rd year now?
Yeah. Let's see. It was, I mean, I'm having a good time with this, because I know like this year I'm super comfortable with the game plan, because I've done it for 2 years already. And I have like every year I just make a copy of my spreadsheet and change the year name on it, I'm comfortable with the planning. I guess this year I have less help, which is the only difference. So, in terms of like a right-hand person. So that's the biggest difference. And I'm trying to figure out how to stay sane, and plan everything. But I guess like the biggest, I also raised my ticket prices. So that's another difference that I purposely did this year. Cause I am trying to grow the brand and provide more value. So looking back, and then the first year that I had the conference, it was 1 day, whereas I've grown to 2 days for last year. And then this year I'm actually adding more events, so making it like 3, 4, or 5 events.
Oh, cool.
So I'm continuously growing. So I guess I'm glad how small I started back in 2015. And a lot of it is pretty much, it's similar. I mean, the format, the way I'm reaching out to people, the brand is just evolving, which naturally it's a natural, occasion. So
for sure.
I'm evolving the branding, the events, the content and quality of the FearlessCon itself. So,
What do you feel like people now? So Adam and I, we learned early on that when we host our own classes and workshops, when people have seen that it has existed before, whether that's like using photography with people actually at the class in the future feels more legit, or people are like, they take it more seriously. Does that definitely help with conference planning and execution? Like, did people see it year 1 and were like, oh, I got to be a part of that next year? Did you feel like people were aware of it as you were sharing, and then that pushed them to act or buy a ticket the next time?
I think I do get comments like, oh, I couldn't make it last year, definitely going to try and make it this year. But in terms of, and that's kind of like, as I'm planning, I see a lot of holes that I'm missing in terms of what could be done better. And that's something that actually is on my mind, is like the PR aspect. Is I don't think I have a lot of coverage or a lot of awareness of this conference. And I know I can get it. It's just I don't have another day in the week to work on that. I think even I'm really just utilizing my own personal social media and brand. but there could be so much more done. And it's definitely something that's on my mind. But yeah, right now I've been posting on my own Instagram and people are getting excited. And, awesome. But I know that if it was posted on other people's stuff, that would be...
Yeah, if you had their audiences.
Yeah.
For sure.
It kind of blows my mind that it's not like a more widely talked about thing.
Because we've been there.
Yeah, because we've been there.
Yeah.
Side note. It's not like I saw it on the internet.
You were?
We went.
Yeah.
No, but last year, Allie was on a panel at FearlessCon, which was cool.
Yep.
And I knew that it was a thing that you did, and I have, I think we've all followed each other on the internet for a bit, just paying attention to what kind of work you're up to.
Yeah.
But it was seeing that, like when I got there, I was like, oh, this is all mostly women who are here, which I probably would have figured out if I did a little homework.
Right.
But then it was also like, this is mostly not white people who are here, which as a very white dude, I know this is audio, but just imagine like a white dude. That's kind of what I look like. Like
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But that to me was very interesting. I was like, gosh, this is done. This is done really well. There was like an amazing connection, relationships that were formed between people. Mm-hmm. And it was just something that wasn't, I don't know, I feel like it should be talked about a lot. Yeah.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to share about it.
Appreciate it.
So talk a little bit about, like, what is it that made you make a conference like this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, so many reasons. I mean, again, going back to the motivation of starting this conference, I think like 4 years ago, I wanted to go to a startup conference here in Philadelphia, and I looked at the roster, and it was all male speakers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, as a freelancer who's, trying to be a successful entrepreneur and grow my business, I have nothing I can relate to with these speakers. Mm-hmm. They're all just like stuck-up dudes. And I didn't end up going, but I was just like, you know what? There needs to be a conference that I can relate to. And that was also the motivation is, let me just create something that I would want to attend. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times I do go to events and they are very like, either they're like mostly white or they're mostly black. And I'm Bengali. Like I don't fit in anywhere on that spectrum, but I wanted a space that everyone could feel comfortable. And I just wanted a diverse community of women to come out because I myself am a minority and a daughter of an immigrant. So and that's actually like a panel that I made this year is awesome. Self-made stories. I'm a daughter of an immigrant and this is my American dream, because I wanted those stories of women that are from different backgrounds to speak up about how they got there. Not, I'm a fashion blogger and this is how I put my, my Instagram husband takes photos of me and this is how I do monetize my blog. Like that's not
that's inspiring, Melissa. What are you talking about? That's inspiring.
That's actually what we're all striving for. I have a wife and I still want an Instagram husband, I still need one of those.
Yeah. Gosh. The main goals for this conference is to make it a safe and diverse space, which I start off by inviting key people, like the speakers are the first target in terms of diversity. And then also providing content that's real, that's for women that want to get that money, not, the likes. So, it's like, I create the content and I pick the themes and the, workshops based off of stuff that I would actually want to learn. Cause I'm not like a millionaire yet. So I want to kind of learn from these people as well. And it's interesting to talk about diversity is, I'm currently trying to find another keynote. And to be honest, I cannot find a woman of color or a minority woman to be a keynote. It's dumb. Like I've had so many amazing women apply to be keynotes, and I've had to say no because they're white. And I feel weird saying that, but the past keynotes have all been white, and I'm here to represent minorities. I love a woman in a hijab to be a keynote, to talk about her fearlessness and her struggles. And I'm having a hard time finding a minority woman of color to be a keynote, and that's like a issue that I think needs to be said as well.
Yeah, I relate in that we've been trying to book more, well, obviously podcast guests, and we have panels in our events, and a part of you feel weird saying like this is difficult, but when you do struggle with finding that diversity, I think you're left with either, okay, I need to expand my circle, I need to meet new people, I need to be around people who are different, but also it's not like this abundant group of people.
And so I think I think it's the truth. You know, it's not, if somebody is listening to this and is like a white person and their top 20 friends are all white people, that's not to say like you're a bad person. I think it's something that Melissa, you and Allie and I all actively put a lot of effort into trying to bring diversity into our work and environment and world. Yeah. And it still is hard. Like it still requires effort. And I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing we always, you know, just because it's hard, don't give up. Like put the effort in to try to create a lot of that. I'm starting my own podcast. It's just me because I don't know.
I guess I like really just hold it back.
Yeah. No, it's just because I want to. And when I think of like my top business best friends, the people I would invite onto it, I realized like, oh, cool, I'm making a podcast that's just full of white men. And I've got to like work to fix that. You know, that's something that we put effort in for.
Yeah, it's something that we might not notice, but like when we do, we're like, oh my gosh. And I think for me, for finding this keynote is like, I'm looking for a woman of color that's in the startup world in New York, or DC. And that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't find someone like other than Payal Kadakia of ClassPass, who's Indian, like, and she's super busy. I've been having trouble with finding someone that's available, that fits that criteria. Cause I have criteria for everything in this conference. It's really like an orchestra I'm trying to orchestrate, you know? There's so many pieces to it. So I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And I'm definitely going to bring it up at the conference about how, you know, thanking everyone for attending and like they need to keep going with their careers because
this is important.
Yeah, it's important. And diversity needs to be, shown and continued basically. So
for sure. But in general, FearlessCon is more focused on women. In your messaging and things like that. I think the thing I loved about attending last year was it didn't feel forced. I think sometimes you go, or I'm even invited to be on a panel where as like someone participating behind the scenes, you feel like, oh, I'm just checking off a box. But I think it definitely felt like it was just very organically diverse. And I think I see that, like, it's not like we live in the same city and hang out, but I think you surround yourselves with people that are different, and you're not just like, oh, every single one of my friends is white. Which I think reflects.
But it's also like it's around. I mean, there's you even using language. This is about like this is for women, but there was almost no part of the conference last year, as I was sitting through it, that I felt like was at all quote for women. I think it's just that because a lot of the voices, and not even all the voices, you had people speaking on panels who were men. It just probably feels comfortable and kind of probably like a unicorn in the world of you have all of these, not even like Instagram famous women, but like entrepreneurial women who are starting businesses. Some of the businesses that we learned about and like the founders that we met amazing. Were, I was like, holy smokes, people were insane. Yeah. Such a high caliber of entrepreneur.
I also I remember when, her name's Amanda, right? Your keynote last year?
Yeah.
I remember when she spoke, it was one of the few times where I feel like a woman was speaking to other women about money in that way. I mean, that's her brand, but I was like, this woman is amazing. And while I'm not as successful as she is in that way at all, I feel like I left feeling like a responsibility to talk to other women candidly about money like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It was amazing.
And that's first of all, Amanda Steinberg, she started Daily Worth and Worth FM, which is a VC fund. I emailed her company, just a shot in the dark, being like, I saw an article, you actually live in the suburbs of Philly.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you want to be keynote? And someone like her would charge like $5-10K to speak. Yeah. And they were like, sure. And they came and I was like, oh my gosh. And when I met her, I kind of like went straight into business mode. I was like, hi, Amanda, like, here's the lay down, here's the layout of the event. And she stopped me. She's like, tell me about you. And I was
cool.
So that's exactly the type of connection I want people to have at FearlessCon. Is like, there's no uppity kind of sense of I make more money or I'm more successful than you. It's like, hey, we're all human. Let's better each other. And I think that's the exciting part. And she was giving like free financial advice. I was like,
oh, I know. Oh,
yeah. People were like, at the end when she did Q&A, it was like, so I have like this amount, and should I put like 401k or like a Roth IRA or what should I?
Yeah.
She was absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying, just how organic it felt, because just the vetting process that I go through for picking speakers is it's fun. But it's very specific for me as well. And I know and it's all on me. So I hope it doesn't ever backfire, because I'm like, I feel like I'm picking people on like my kickball team and I'm like second grade,
Yeah.
But there is like an art to picking people and like making sure it's a lot of research. Like I stalk the shit out of them, making sure that they'd be a good fit and they'd also be a good fit for the other panelists.
So what are some of the things you look for? Like what does that stalking process look like?
Because we do the same thing with our workshops, where we have a lot of people who will just introduce themselves to us. And I know you probably get the same thing probably with sponsors or whatever, where you're like, hey, if I sponsor, can I keynote or blah, 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 whatever. And you're like, no, I want to curate this. Like I'm inviting
I'm not just taking
people.
Everyone.
Yeah.
So this was the first year that I opened a call for speakers up, just because I was like, I don't have time to look for everyone. But so I opened it up. I had a lot of people apply. And so I went through, and so the things I looked at was the quality of their topic or pitch. So was it something that, was it a good topic for a workshop?
Yeah.
I then also looked at their following, and this is like a conference where most of the people that I have speaking don't have more than like 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
There's like a few outliers that I added just because, so I try and balance, like I have women that don't have a good following, but have a great idea or a great brand or whatnot. Versus women that do have a huge following. And then I also do years of having their business, because I do have some newbie entrepreneurs that are teaching workshops, but they're certified like financial advisors. They just like went off on their own. So I'm giving them also like, I don't want to say a chance, but I'm giving them the opportunity. So it's like a balance, because a lot of times people are like, I've had to say no to a lot of women that haven't spoken at all. So also experience in speaking.
For sure.
And just also at the end of the day, are they a good fit? Do they, are they going to be a good addition? Like, do they look the part that I'm looking for? And are they diverse? Are they a millennial? That helps. I mean, it's hard because it's like,
because they represent you. It's like someone could just come to a workshop or a session that person is leading, and that's their experience with your conference.
So I've had to be picky, and I've also taken a look at their own social media, like what are they posting about, and I've chosen people that have been posting more about like their business and their brand and might have 300 followers versus someone with more followers that has like a crazy feed. So it's like,
for sure.
It's like a lot. And then I have a lot of like life coaches that apply, and that's great and all, but that's not my target market. Like, because I know
there's like why I love you. This is like why I love this so much is
it's real.
This is exactly Melissa. This is like you're speaking the exact language that we speak all the time, which is I'd much rather have what I would say is like a practitioner, someone who does the thing.
Yeah.
Come in and explain what they do. Yeah. Versus have a financial coach come in and talk about how someone should run their finances. I'd rather have somebody come in and who's like, I am a badass at business. Let me tell you about how I handle my finances in reality.
Yeah.
Not in like a theory that I blog about sometimes, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, because I know like coaches are just, I don't want them just to sell their service, and that's not really, life coaching isn't. I'm more about the nitty gritty details of like niche skills and like female empowerment and entrepreneurship are the themes of the conference that I've tried to stick with. So yeah, and I've even had, I said no to one speaker actually, and I went back and I was like, you know what, I think there's something here. And I think I said no because she was so fresh. With her company, and she like only had maybe a few hundred followers. But I went back and I was like, you know what, I looked at her site some more and then I realized, I was like, you know what, she could teach a really cool workshop. Let me just work with her on the topic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's amazing.
And a lot of times it's like, it's just me hosting. So if you respond back to me being like, why didn't I get it? It's going to put me in a weird spot. So if it's all about the pitch. If you can pitch me a reason why you should be on it after I say no, and you might most likely will get it, because I love the audacity and like that shows fearlessness, you know? So it's like I've been getting a lot of pitches being like, you know, I don't have a lot of speaking experience, but I want to be fearless, which is your theme. And I love that. Like, that's exactly what the theme is. So yeah, do that.
That's really cool. What, when it comes to like, then how, okay, so you have all your speakers, workshop, you know, teachers, things like that. Talk a little bit about like the marketing of the event. Like, I know you have
how do
like
you
your site has always been really good. Like, I remember the first year we heard about it, I was like, oh, their like online presence is awesome. And it felt real, which you kind of were talking about, like branding and all of that is really important. But what are some of like the best marketing decisions you've made that are more scrappy, or investments you've made when it comes to that?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, to start, like the best marketing decision is to get the speakers, because that's where I mean, my role the day of is behind the scenes pretty much. So it's really up to the speakers to bring in people, and that's why I do what I do when I pick them. But in terms of other marketing, I've just been using my personal brand. I reach out to other tactics as I reach out to local groups and offer them an incentive, like a discount code. So like other female entrepreneurial groups. Right now there's so many Facebook groups, and that's like a trend that wasn't happening as much in 2015. Is that there's so many more Facebook groups that are like active. So I'm going to have like my interns reach out to them and give them a discount. And then PR. So I try and get some press around it, and get in some articles or interviews, which I need to start doing because we're like less than a month out and I'm freaking out. But yeah, so PR. And then what else? This year I'm going to be putting up some lovely postcards that this company called the Wonder Jam made.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, they are being made right now.
Awesome.
So I'm going to start doing a little more guerrilla marketing. I want to put some up in coffee shops and then just word of mouth, I think, and social media, like that helps.
Yeah.
A lot of times whenever I post, I'll have someone new that I don't recognize comment, be like, and tag her friends, be like, we got to go to this.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's always good. And then I want to try Facebook ads, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah. I remember last year you did a scholarship or two. I forget how many. And actually one of our friends got to go there and we saw her. We were like, oh my gosh, which I really like. I know that's always a way for people to feel like they have a chance if like travel takes a while, you know, or costs a lot. What, there's something I was going to ask you.
Well, so Melissa, why don't you just tell the people listening to this what you do in your most of the time job?
Yeah, this isn't like your
because I think some of those skills probably translate into putting this conference together, right?
For sure.
Oh, yeah. So I spend most of my time after October, not when I'm not planning this conference. I run my own business, creating, it's so hard to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm like having a hard time describing it. Okay, so I do freelance creative work, and I've been doing this for 5 years where I make websites for clients. I do design for clients, so whether that be branding or logo or creating a media kit, business cards. So design, web design, and what else? Photography. I shoot photos. Yeah, and then now I'm getting into PR, so I just got some cool PR clients.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I run Femme Fortune, which is the mother brand of all of it. Okay. Femme Fortune is a platform and creative marketing agency for women, and I've had that since 2014.
Okay.
Or 2013 actually. So yeah, that is a platform, an online magazine I started to empower women. So that's kind of like my niche is to empower women, and then how I spend my days is through creative work, which I love doing. So
that's amazing. What skills, okay, this is like a super honest question. Do you feel like what struggles would someone have if they didn't have that as their full-time thing? Like, would it be pretty difficult? Do you feel like it's key to have like a partner?
But yeah, just to jump into that, part of one of the things that we want to talk about in this season of the podcast is this kind of idea of what's below the surface. Or kind of like, so one of those things Allie talked about was, year one, before Fearless had ever existed, you would look at the online presence and be like, oh man, this is like a very real looking thing, which you are in the profession of making that kind of thing happen, right? So you have some skills and some experience that obviously puts Fearless ahead of other people. So what do you think some of those things would be? What would be some of those things that if someone was listening to this, wanted to do a conference, but maybe wasn't in your shoes, like what are some of those things they need to go find?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that have helped with Fearless, when I launched Fearless in 2015, I had my co-working space, which had a ton of press around it. So that awareness of who I was really helped. And like the following that I was like slowly building up. So I had an audience already, and the Femme Fortune audience, which is the same theme and same niche of women. I had an audience already to launch this, so I wasn't afraid of that. So that was important. And then community. So that audience was a community that I had. So launching it, if I had launched a conference for white men, I wouldn't have been as successful, but I was launching a conference for me and women like me. And so that was helpful. And then also just the branding and design. Like I can whip up a website for whatever idea I have within like one whole night, So having that design background and the marketing background, and the ability to create social media channels right away and start posting graphics, and having that eye. So that's been helpful. But that doesn't mean if you don't have like 10,000 followers, or if you don't, have X, Y, and Z, you can't host a conference. It's really just about connection. Like it's about making those connections and also creating a conference that people speak to. And you can always hire a designer. You can always have there's so many ways you can go about the skill aspect of it. But if you have a conference that speaks to your audience, they'll come. Like you don't have to have 1 million followers. So, and then if you have the persistence and like the perseverance to like reach out to like PR people or like other media people to like invite them and get them to write about it or tweet them. Like you just have to work really hard. And
you have to care. I think a lot of times we see people get ideas or, like we're even starting to talk about the Wonder Jam's own marketing and getting like having more fun with it. And the thing we constantly say is like someone has to care. Like someone has to be excited about it. Or it just becomes this like task list that you don't want to tackle. Or people, I think, pick up on that. When
or you just start doing your own marketing in a way that's boring. Where you're just like, hey, would you like to buy a website from me? Would you like to buy photos from me? You're just like...
not too salesy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's actually something that last year, which was my second year hosting the conference, but the first year hosting it when I didn't have the Hive, which was kind of like the fundraiser for it in a way, So last year I was just like, wait, like 3 days before I was like, wait, why am I hosting this conference? Like, what am I like? But then I realized I just have to do it because it's too late to cancel.
You won't get your deposit back.
But I had that realization. I was like, wait, who am I doing this for? I don't have a boss. I am the boss.
Totally.
No.
Well, the thing that I even picked up as you were talking is that you're still serving the same community. Like no matter what idea or business you had, there's that connection.
Yeah, Fearless and Femme Fortune and
even when the
Hive
is here.
It's all, you're working to take care of the same people.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think people, that becomes easy for people to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, just to explain it, I guess, and say it out loud, I'd say like my audience are women who have been thinking about starting their own business, have their side hustle, or are like between 1 and 3 years of running their business. So I'm really trying to cater to the women that need help, that aren't like funded, from VCs and have angel investment and whatnot. I'm trying to help the women that are just starting a business and are more passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
Make connections with other women or make connections with brands that could be helpful, and be inspired to grow their business through like workshops and knowledge. So, yep.
And I connect with that so much because I think like 3 years ago, I wrote a post on my own blog about how I'm self-funded. Like I don't even have like a business loan or like a rich family or a husband
a rich husband. She does not.
Elliot
does not have a rich husband. It's breaking news.
I definitely do not. But that's different to me. And it's not like we were talking about earlier. It's not that someone who has a huge following and does, posts about their fashion on Instagram isn't legit. That's a legit business. And it's not that people who have funding elsewhere isn't legit. It's just different. And I think the conference speaks to that, to those people.
Yeah. I'm trying to be approachable to a core demographic of women that are being like underserved or not like represented. So, or not, they don't have access to the type of tools you might need to have like $1 million business. So I want to be like the gateway drug for them, to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, for sure. So, let's go a little bit more tactical. How do you stay organized? How do you delegate? What does it all look like? How do you keep track of things that need to be done? Do you feel like you approach that more organically, where you just sort of understand what needs to be done? Or do you have tools that you use to keep volunteers informed? Like, how does that look for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like so much. I actually want to teach a course on how to run throw a conference, because I've had that comment before, like women want to pick my brain about the conference. And I'm like,
you can't be with everyone.
Yeah, it's way too much. A Google Doc, I just have a spreadsheet that I live by. Yeah. I actually make copies of it just in case someone like an intern accidentally deletes it or something.
Yeah, that's key. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, I will be fucked if someone.
You have to. One of the things you have to do for Google Docs, you have to print them all out and put them underneath your bed. That way you have a physical copy.
Yeah. I wear them on my body.
At all times. I catch it.
So, yeah, I think there is a lot that goes into it. Okay, so in terms of design and decor inspiration, I'll find on Instagram, I bookmark everything. Mm-hmm. And right about now, like 6 weeks to a month out, I'll take a look at everything I bookmarked and start buying things. You have to like have that time for delivery. So knowing that about the design and decor, and this year I have a friend helping out, so that's going to be amazing. She's awesome at designing like activation areas and all that jazz. So in terms of the speakers and workshop hosts, they're all on different tabs, and I highlight, I always do like red, yellow, green in terms of what process or what level they're at. Yeah. So if they are, if I've just reached out or emailed them, they'll be yellow. Once they confirm, they're green. Once I put them on the website with their photo, they're blue. Okay. So like I have this just like weird, just so I can keep track of.
It's like your own shorthand.
Yeah, it's just highlighting everything. This year I'm trying to be a little more organized. So for vendors, I created one form that I'll just email the vendors a link that has all the information instead of going back and forth like who's going to be at the table. Yeah. What are you selling? So creating systems that are organized, like such as forms, and I use Typeform, all of my forms. What else? Whenever I remember something, I write it down right away because there are things that I'll forget. So I have like my main sheet with just to-dos that I just remembered, such as like make an FAQ, and I put a link to another FAQ that I like. Yeah. Put a charge station. So that's going to be, I want to create an area for people to charge their phones. Oh, that's a good idea. So like little things that I'm just remembering or I see on Instagram through other conferences, I just write down right away because otherwise there's
forget it.
Yeah. Like order bags like by this date. So Stuff like that. And then with sponsors, I have a whole sponsor tab that has like their name, their company email, what they could provide, what's their angle. Okay. So their angle could either be for entrepreneurs, so they're like an app or a resource, or the angle is women, so they're like a beauty or lifestyle brand. Okay. Stuff like that. And then the date I contacted them. So yeah. That's awesome. That's all highlighted in green, yellow. And then the main thing that I just did this year is a logistics tab, which is, I love it. It's so organized. So I have like, on this one sheet, I have vendor tables and I put the spots open for who's like, so once someone confirms, I'll put them right on this one page. I'm doing giveaways. So once someone agrees to a giveaway, I'm going to put it on this sheet. Otherwise it gets all lost in email because I'm sending out like 30 emails a day. So what are the food and drink options so that I know what I'm missing? Yep. And then I have a spot like who's a photographer? There's a yellow spot there. Is there someone going to be filming? There's a yellow highlighted spot there. And then another area is goodie bag. So what's in the goodie bag? So I know like physically how's it going to look and what I'm missing. And then the last part is experiences. So what experiences am I providing? So this year I'll have hair and makeup and nails provided by a beauty app called Priv. So that's amazing. I put that down. I'm trying to have a donut wall, so I put that's an experience. So that way, like I can visualize the conference happening in my mind, and know that I'm providing an overall good experience because of all these pieces. So
or that it's not like slanted or one-sided.
Exactly. You have to see the whole thing before the whole layout before you are there.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, you're a creative entrepreneurial, you're like a very, I think, big picture person. Like you seem to communicate that way a lot. But then as you're sitting here describing this, you're also like a very in the weeds, detailed, nitty gritty person as well. Which one of those things like comes most naturally for you? Or is there one of those things you had to work on and like develop?
Yeah, I'd say I've always been like super into planning things, and for me, my biggest fear is always like, are people going to be hungry after they leave my events? You know, like, so I'm always, I'm Bengali. We love feeding people. So that's something that I've always thought about the bigger picture. But I've just always been so like type A when it comes to organization and like spreadsheets and stuff. Like when I was in high school, I went to a boarding school in Connecticut. I hosted a Mario Kart tournament with a good friend of mine, Bonnie. And
I would go to that also.
It was something fun. No one's ever done it. And we would just bring our N64 and hook it up to one of the TVs in the dorms. Yeah. And then the tournament ended up, we made brackets, so we were super organized. And then for the final, we had Friday auditorium, and we all live on campus. This is like Gossip Girl boarding school. So we have Friday auditorium, and we asked if we could do the final tournament in the auditorium. And that was like a first. There's never been a video game played during this like Friday auditorium. So we hooked it up to like a 40-foot screen and had them play like the Rainbow Road.
It's impossible.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And it was just such an experience. I like still love that I was part of that and helped organize it. Me and Bonnie just... we charge like
first conference.
Yeah, and we charge like $5 for the bracket, and I think we gave it to the winner or something. So it was great. Like I had such a good time, but it's that kind of level needs like a lot of organization. That's always been me, like since the beginning. So
yeah, it's really like it's understanding that in order for the experience for other people to be really like relaxed and easy, you have to handle a ton of detail. And I think that's something we see even in small business owners is, they want this public facing experience, but their experience running it is going to look different.
Yeah. And you have to get out of your comfort zone too, because we could have just easily had the tournament just in the same dorm room.
Yeah.
But it's like, how can you always better yourself? Like for FearlessCon, like what can I do that's going to make this experience better than last year? So you always have to challenge yourself too.
Yeah, for sure. What, Adam, you had a couple notes that you were writing while we were talking.
I was thinking of ideas for I was like writing. Melissa was talking about taking notes whenever you have ideas, so I was practicing that as it was happening.
That's amazing. Well, I guess
I just wrote like FearlessCon is super dope, and we should do a ton to help it because the way you talk about the type of people you want to help is exactly the same thing. It's like we probably, one of us is stealing each other's words because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
My last question then is, how do you, okay, let's assume that someone who's listening is like, oh, I'd love to run a conference or like start one, or, now that I hear this, like attending is going to feel so different. But a lot of people have side hustles, even if they're an entrepreneur, they have something else that they're starting.
Yeah.
How do you approach splitting your time? And do you give yourself like restrictions in like how much time you put into it? Are there times where you just have to say like my client work comes first, even if it hurts the conference? Like how, advice / mindset when it comes to that?
Yeah. So client work always comes first. In the prior years, I've actually not taken on new clients like the month before.
Okay.
This is the first year where I didn't do that.
Okay.
Which I'm a little nervous about. I just got a major client that is launching like from the same time as.
Okay.
Yeah. So be smart about that. I know. Choices I make. But I think. So prior to like the month before the conference, client work always takes priority. But I would work on FearlessCon like at night a lot, and just use Boomerang to schedule out emails. So I was sending out emails at like, or writing them up around 2, 3 a.m. and then sending them out. So yeah.
Whenever we do that, I always I send it at like 5:45 in the morning, so it looks like I'm one of those super productive morning people.
I just got done with my morning run.
I just got done with my morning run, and I read 17 books, and I did a meditation.
Now I'm emailing.
I just wanted to email you at 5:30.
Yeah. My boyfriend saw like a post on FearlessCon. That was just posted in the morning by the girl that's Rachel, who's running my Instagram, and he was like, "You were sleeping? How'd you do that?" And I was like, magic. But when now I have told my clients and they all know I host this conference. But now my priority is responding to emails. FearlessCon is a client now. So the month before it becomes its own client. And so I've been really just segmenting my days out. I'll be okay, which I never usually do. I'm more carefree, but now I'm just bam, bam, bam. This is the amount of time that I have to work until my next meeting. I'm going to use that time for this client, or I'm going to use that for FearlessCon. And then I'm always just I'm glued. I told my friends I can't hang out with them. So it's also sacrificing your social life. And being able to say no, which is so hard because you do want to go to happy hour and all that stuff. But those 2 hours you're at happy hour could be 2 hours you're sending emails for your conference. So which I need. So saying no, knowing your time, knowing your limits, and scheduling everything out. And then in terms of delegating, I just kind of see what don't I need to do. So for instance, this year we're trying to partner with female fitness studios to offer our attendees a free class whenever they want.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I have my intern just reaching out and finalizing all that. And I just write it out in an email hey, here are the fitness studios that have said yes. Please respond back to them, and this program, this little mini Fearless Fitness program I'm creating, this is yours.
Yeah.
Same with social media. I've given that to another girl, Rachel, like I said. So, cool. And just setting everything up. I gave her the Photoshop templates. She knows vibe. And she's been doing great.
That's really cool.
So just making everything organized for everyone. And it's just, you have to do it. I have to delegate. Otherwise this won't happen, this conference.
Yeah. It's almost if you didn't delegate, nobody would be getting the best of you.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, what we plan to do is obviously link all of this stuff. For anyone listening, you can go to our website and check out all the links to everything that we've referenced. But tell us when the conference is, and what are you still looking for stuff? Are you still all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm always looking for people to be involved or brands to be involved. This year, the conference is October 13th and 14th, 2017, here in Philadelphia. And then I have a keynote set for next year, actually, because she couldn't do it this year.
Okay.
So they were like, email us a date for next year. So I will be announcing a date for next year.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And the thing with conferences, you have to plan early because of budgets and people's availability.
Well, getting like a venue is, freaking.
That's hard.
Yeah, especially because of like weddings on the weekends and all that stuff.
Freaking
and then next year it's the fall every year. So probably we'll do in October for 2018. And then I've been thinking about moving the conference around. But I think I might just keep it in Philly for now, and then just add another one somewhere else. But have a stable one in Philly, because Philly is no one comes to Philly, and this is my chance to bring people to this city. Major brands don't even have Philly as their target, and we're a huge city in between DC and New York. And I just want to represent Philly and bring people to the city, so I'm going to keep it here.
Amazing.
Yeah, Philadelphia is cool.
Yeah, we love it.
I'll get you a strong pitch for having something in Columbus sometime. So Allie and I will put that together. Yeah, maybe you can help out with WonderCon. I don't know.
Love it.
Think of something.
Well, we'll be there for Fearless.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, thinking about going, we will be there.
Can be our friends.
And we can become best friends. Mm-hmm. We have plenty of room for best friends in our life.
Sure.
Or we could just become acquaintances too, if that's what you're comfortable with. But I would highly, highly recommend it. It's just a super powered group of people that I can't imagine where else in the world that group of people gets together.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time, Melissa. This was amazing. I loved, like you said, you pick people that you want to learn from, and that's sort of how we approach this podcast, is like we want to learn from people. So all the questions we asked, we were actually legit curious. But thanks for being on the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you all. And I can't wait to see you guys for this year's FearlessCon this month.
See you soon.
Next month. Talk to you.
It feels like this month. It's basically within the month.
It's like it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. I'm just gonna sleep all day.
Yeah.
Until it happens.
Rest up, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Allie, I was wondering if maybe we could take some questions from people who have asked questions to us.
Like a bonus round of
This
the
could
podcast?
be a bonus round, bonus questions. You thought the podcast was over.
It's like popcorn.
But we're still talking.
Popcorn episode.
It's like the thing where someone comes over to your house to hang out, and you guys are having a good time, and it's kind of like you're winding down, ready to go to bed, but they keep like bringing up a brand new topic of conversation. This is like that.
We are that person.
You thought the podcast was done, and you're about to go listen to another podcast. Probably, I don't know what podcast you might listen to if you listen to us.
Yeah.
Probably Stuff You Should Know.
Maybe. I like that one.
I like to think that people listen to our podcast and then go listen to Stuff You Should Know.
True. I listen to that one a lot, so I recommend it. But today we aren't going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, I have 3 questions from people who have submitted. And what we've been asking is, if you have a business question that you feel like no one talks about, or you've never been able to ask someone, one of these I don't even know if I can answer. I don't even know the answer.
Oh, you don't know the answer?
We're going to try.
If the answer needs to be kept a secret, we're just going to bleep the entire answer.
That's my pet peeve, though, when there's like segments or sections that people are like, ask anything, and then they just like avoid it.
Yeah.
That's annoying to me.
Do you use Q-tips? That's like someone needs to ask that question.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't. The first question is from Courtney on Instagram, and she asked, how do you go about raising your prices and informing those who purchase from you without sounding mean or rude when your initial prices may not be what they should be or what they're used to? Which I thought was a really good question, because I've struggled with that.
That's a great question.
Do you want to answer
with
first?
It constantly.
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer it because you don't know the answer right now?
No, I just didn't know if I should read the question and answer it.
Yeah.
Feels
so
like
I think pricing involves a lot of different things, and you just really have to be solid on how much money you need to make, how many clients can you take care of, How much value are you giving to people? So all of those things have to keep pricing in check.
Yep.
Your business won't continue to work if you just charge people $1,000 an hour for the heck of it.
Or keep it the same as when you started.
Yeah. Like most businesses have to change their pricing over time because it doesn't work. And so one of the cool things about having a small business where you have maybe not 1 million clients, but you have 100 clients over the course of a year is that you can change your pricing over time and you're not necessarily going to tick off like 100,000 people. Like when Chipotle starts charging, changes their price by 15 cents.
There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people who get upset. Where you can just keep sort of bumping up those prices, 1% or 2% or 5% every proposal you send out or every new contract you have. So that's one of the things that we've done is as we've gotten better at the thing that we do, we've started very affordably. And then as we get better, we increase our rates.
Yeah.
I did that with coaching. I started off, my first person I ever did coaching with, I did for free. And then today I'm still doing the same coaching structure, but now I've worked with 110 people. And so I'm a lot better at it.
Yep. And you raise your prices every 10 people.
Yeah. And so I raise my prices every 10 people. And I tell that story when people ask me more about pricing because they start to understand why I'm doing the thing I'm doing. So I explain, this is how much I try to make a month. But I try not to work with 100 people. I try to just work with 10 people a month. And so this is how much it costs.
Yeah, I've always really liked that concept because it allows you to learn and understand why you're raising your prices. I think I had a couple thoughts when I read this question first. The first is educate your clients. If you want them to stay with you and you're raising your prices, talk about why. Talk about things that took a lot longer than you thought and you really want to keep delivering. Talk about how you're trying to hire or delegate work, so you're paying other people. There's nothing wrong with cluing them in because most likely if you're even like us at all, you're working with other small businesses who get it. The last thing would be, maybe not the last thing, but the second thing that I would say is sometimes we have older clients, not in age, that we've just had them as clients longer. Past clients, or ones that we've stayed with them through the years. One is I will sometimes keep my lower rates with them because I know how easy it is to work with them. So I don't need to necessarily raise my prices a lot with someone who's easy to work with. I know how much time something takes. Or I will just do things quicker. So I'll say, I'm going to charge the same amount, but we're actually going to do this photo shoot in 3 hours instead of 5. And I think we can. So, don't just dig your heels in the sand. Is that the phrase?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Don't be stubborn. Or the dirt. Or the grass.
I think digging your heels in is the point. It doesn't matter what substance you're standing on.
Could be concrete, but don't be so stubborn that you can't make exceptions for those that have supported you for years and years.
That's a great point because I'm thinking even the first time we work with any client, we kind of price ourselves and think through, we give ourselves more time to do that work, and that's reflected in the cost we charge for that.
Because you're not sure.
And we just did a photo shoot for a client that was like the 5th photo shoot we've ever done for them. And we know, hey, we can charge you this, but we're going to get it done so fast. Or we can say, we actually can do this for a lower rate than we do almost any other photo shoots because we know we've worked with you enough and we know that this is how this goes. And so I think it's just being really upfront with people. Ultimately, I would say this. Empathy is important, and we talk about that a lot. But your clients don't care about your pricing. They care about what they get. So if you can couch your pricing inside of this is what you get, or this is what this takes for you to get photos for this amount of money or designs for this amount of money, it's pretty easy for them to say yes to it because you're putting it in their language. So sometimes I think as creatives or business owners, we want to get defensive with pricing and be like, we deserve to raise our rates because we're so much better. We've gotten whatever. We've worked so hard. Your clients don't necessarily care about that. I mean, if you can demonstrate how that makes a difference to your clients, that's awesome. So you might say like, hey, I'm raising my hourly rate because I'm freaking fast now and I get stuff done in like 15 minutes that used to take 3 hours and I can't make enough money charging this.
I also think if Courtney mentioned without sounding mean or rude, if you're working with people who are offended by business in general, that maybe they're not a good client. And we've been there where you work with people where things are just feel more personal, and that's not your fault. But in general, I firmly believe the most healthy client relationships we have, we can talk very candidly about contracts and cost, and it's not an offensive thing.
Yeah.
So thanks for asking,
That's
Courtney.
a great question, Courtney.
The next one I also resonate with, and it is from Annie on Instagram. Not our Annie, but a different Annie.
We have an Annie?
Yeah, here at the Wonder Jam. Do you remember her?
She's on our team.
Yeah.
I know, but when you say our, it's like ownership, and I'm like, we don't own that person. They just like are on our team.
Oh no, I own them. No. Do you often question your smarts? I mean, when you're selling a service that you claim to be an expert on, do you have struggles with the confidence that you might not actually be an expert?
Allie and I are going to have vastly different answers for this question.
You go first.
Or yes. Do you want me to? I do. Yeah, all the time I have. I think there's a lot of things that I'm good at now that I've been good at for a really long time, but I didn't have a lot of practice. And so it's like the first time you go play basketball or try to draw something that you just freehand, like you will not probably be good at that thing. Yeah. You probably were.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're pretty good at everything just immediately.
Well, not really like basketball.
But yeah. So like besides sports, but most of
the things I stick with.
Yeah.
For sure.
But so I think there's part of that where you have to demonstrate those things to yourself if you're a normal person. But if you're Allie, it's different.
But I think I can relate in that there might be things, if you're listening, there's things that you do that come naturally that you didn't get this light bulb moment that you're an expert. No one is really an expert. You can always learn more. The things that I know with using Lightroom or Photoshop or my camera, there's still a lot with each of those things that I have no idea. I think that it is understanding that the thing that you're offering is your interpretation and you have your hand in it. So if I do a Photoshop, I might not be the most technically sound person, but I know that I can deliver the thing that that person needs and wants. And so I think it's even taking out that idea of being an expert in anything and understanding that you're serving people that have nowhere near the same amount of knowledge or expertise that you do. It's like the idea that you never are done learning.
Yeah, you're never done learning. So that's definitely there. I think one of the things I see a lot in my coaching clients is that we end up paying a lot of attention to our competitors and then people who are better than us at everything. Yeah. Where in reality, if you have like an iPhone 7 Plus or something with portrait mode on it, you could probably charge people $100 and take photos of their food or something and have a deliverable that's very, very valuable to them. Yeah. Even if you don't have any technical equipment and you don't have any knowledge about how to do camera settings, if you can just take cool iPhone photos, that's very valuable to a bunch of people. Right. But if you're just following other amazing food photographers on Instagram, or if you're following other people who do exactly what you do, it's easy to feel like you're not very good. Yeah. So I think focusing in on the people you serve rather than the other people who do the same thing as you will help you realize that you're an expert to the people who will pay you, and maybe you're not an expert to. I do that with Facebook ads. People hire me to do Facebook ads for them all the time, and I feel like an idiot compared to other people who run Facebook ads. I just know I'm good enough to make a big difference for people who absolutely don't know anything at all.
For sure. And that goes back to just if you're teaching a class on Skillshare or online, I definitely feel like that is, you can easily feel like you're not the best person to be doing that, but you're still helping people.
Right. Most definitely.
The last question that we got is from Samantha on Instagram. And she asked, I'm currently working on a business plan and might need additional funding. How do you find the right investor? Also, I can't find anything to protect app business plans. How do you pitch an investor with the confidence that your idea is protected, aside from a non-disclosure or patent? Because most apps can be redone and can't be patented. That's
Contented.
The first part of it, I would say I have never like sought out funding for anything that I've done.
Correct.
Even in a more like tech digital business that I started in 2013.
Neither of us has. Me nor you have.
True. Yeah. I do know that when we've talked about finding investors, it's very much more about our inner circle and less about finding like a, VC firm or things like that.
Right.
And just thinking of like, how can this actually be a valuable investment from someone? Can they be a part of the team? And less like going out to Silicon Valley.
Yeah, most definitely. I think when you think of that, you're like, what am I getting from this person? Mm-hmm. And do I want everything that I'm getting from them? And so they might give you money, which sounds cool, but do you also want their management style? And are you getting their management? Mm-hmm. Are they becoming your boss? And do you want them as a boss? And so those are things that most businesses who have poorly structured or ill-founded partnerships or relationships fail all the time. And people are just like, I got to quit this because this relationship doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That ends way more businesses than some other thing does.
Yeah.
But because those relationships are personal, rarely is that the thing that goes out in a press release. They'll be like, there's just something else going on there.
Yeah.
So much of that is thinking through what I really need. The other thing is, a lot of times when we see people chasing money, chasing investment and hunting for that, what do you need the money for? Mm-hmm. And if you ran your business better, could you use profits from the business to invest back into yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we've worked with a number of people who are funded companies who are funded by some other thing. Not a lot of those pan out.
Yeah.
A lot of those end and morph into something else.
Yeah.
A lot more of the people who do the hard work to prove that their business is profitable and makes money, those people are the ones who are still around. And so I would challenge anybody who's working on that. There's a website, or there's a group called Indie VC, INDIE VC, who their approach to investment and venture capital is very much about funding profitable businesses that can scale versus funding random ideas.
Yeah.
And if you have like a big time idea, like if you have the next Facebook or Instagram thing, the process to go get that money is very clear cut. It's you go through Silicon Valley and try and get a bunch of that money. And your idea very well may be stolen.
Yeah.
That happens a ton.
I would say I can't really talk too much about protecting your idea, but I think if you pair talking to people you are actually in your circle and you trust first with testing your idea in a really small way and trying to grow a community around the idea, that actually ends up becoming very valuable. And even if someone rips the app idea off, you have this dedicated, very loyal community that's already engaged. And so if my app idea is to connect women in their 30s who don't have children, which is me, and help us become better friends of people who have kids. Can you tell that this is something that I deal with? And I have that community. Even if someone builds the app that connects us, my community is going to be loyal to me.
Yeah.
And maybe that new app that ripped me off is like interested in, in that. But if you own that community yourself, and that becomes way more valuable than an app that can always be remade.
Yeah.
So focus on the people and the community first.
Truth.
Yeah.
Chasing money is a difficult, long road, and it's hard.
Yeah. But thanks for asking, Samantha.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, you can email pod@thewonderjam.com or direct message us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Our username is thewonderjam. And just as a reminder, if you go to thewonderjam.com/fearless, you can enter to win 2 tickets to the Fearless Conference in Philly, October 12th, 13th, 14th. And the giveaway will end on Friday the 29th of this week. So we hope that you get to participate, and maybe we'll see you there.